Hi, I'm Eddie with CNA Pro Skis. We're here today with snowcross champion turned shop manager, Robbie Malinowski. We're here today to talk about a couple different things. When we get phone calls, we get questions about our skis being aggressive. And what we have here is we have Robbie here to talk us through how to set up your machine to ease up some of that steering effort that you might get with an aftermarket pair of skis. So Robbie, you know what it takes to win. You know what it takes to get around the track. What's it take to get a snowmobile set up so it's going to corner, but it's not going to be too much steering effort?
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the things that you got to look at is there's 3 points of contact on the snow. So the front, the skis, the center of the track, and then the rear of the track. And one of the things that we do when we're racing is we always have that same issue. We have too much or too little steering effort. And we play around with the shocks. And that's pretty much the biggest gain you can get to get your ski pressure just right for your riding style.
Okay. So with the front of the sled, let's kind of start there with the front shock. What can a guy or a gal do to help with the front shock to ease up on some of that steering pressure?
Well, if you're too soft and you let off the gas, your front end will collapse a little bit, and then what happens is it loads up that ski even more, right, creating a harder turn, more steering effort. And then if you're going on top of that, you have a lot of ski, a lot of carbide, and a lot of keel. It's really going to get aggressive and grabby and knifey, and it's just going to feel like you're not in control.
Okay. Someone that might want to go into and absorb some of those impacts, you might not want to get your shocks too soft that it's going to put too much transfer to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to make this a bit harsher, we want to make this stronger, what way do we turn the spring? Do we bring it down? Or?
Yeah, exactly. We would go and tighten up the spring, so we'd turn it down. And then on the other side of it, if you're into, you have some control over your shocks with clickers and whatnot, you'd want to stiffen up your low speed. And that's one thing that you can go to your owner's manual, look in there, and they'll kind of give you a direction of what's going to stiffen it up. Typically on all the shocks, if you turn the clicker in, it's going to stiffen the dampening, therefore creating a harder shock and creating a stiffer shock all around.
All right, so we can essentially crank down this pressure to add more pressure to the spring, make it a bit stiffer. Or what way do we turn the clicker?
We would turn it in, so turn it to the right.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we kind of do at the front end here, but you're talking about 2 other contact points with the machine. What do we do for the middle of the machine here? Yeah,
for sure. The shock is definitely the spot you want to start with. It's much like the front. We can tighten the preload on the spring. We can stiffen up the compression clicker by turning it in or to the right. That's where I would start if I had someone come in and complain about too much steering effort. Now, if the steering effort is still too great and you've adjusted the shock, then I would look at limiter strap length. I would start to lengthen the limiter length, not at a big rate, probably 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch amounts, and then start there and work at it with the shock again.
And then, is there anything else? Is some of the rails, I see all these different holes in the rails. Can something like that where you can move the arm, does that come into play at all, or is that something that we should probably stay away from?
No, there is. I mean, the amount of adjustment is unlimited, I should say, and you can go a long ways away from where it was actually riding not too bad. So I generally tell everyone to just kind of stay within a boundary of where you're comfortable at working around. Awesome. And now if you were to just worry about a little steering effort, typically one of the things people will find is the little amount of adjustment makes a big difference on the trail. So the big, home run kind of fix that you want to try to find right away usually isn't there. It's a little change, test it, ride it, see how it feels, and then go back and either make a little bit more or go right back to where you were.
So you guys are a race shop. You're very detail oriented. I'm sure you've got the laptops that have all the notes in it, but even for a guy or a gal at home, probably just have a notebook and write down in that what adjustment you made, and probably not do a whole bunch of different adjustments all at the same time, so that way you can test and fine tune what you've done.
No, that is spot on. We really encourage anybody who's gonna go and make some change to make sure mark and record what they are at, where they're at, and then what they changed, and then their feedback after the change, and then not to be scared to go back to where they were, because sometimes you do get a little confused when you do make a bunch of changes and you really don't know what's better and what's worse. So it's always good to go back to that baseline, pick up the problem that was causing you to go and change something in the first place, and then go from there.
Okay, so now we've kind of got that center of the suspension, center of the snowmobile taken care of as well. And last but definitely not least, you've got the rear of the machine for that contact point. What do you kind of say for adjustments there? What are some suggestions to make that really help with that steering effort?
Right, yeah. Now it basically all relates, but now you're at the back of the sled, so you dictate how much pressure you can put on that ski by the back, and you kind of get that pitch and roll effect going on, and it is dictated by the back. So if you were to get on the gas really hard and your skis lift up in the air, and then as soon as you cut the throttle, your skis slam down and it's super aggressive and you can't hardly hang on. Now then, I'm gonna look at that saying, we've got an issue back here, we better adjust the rear, maybe stiffen up the spring rate. With the torsion springs, it's like, I think 3 or 4 different adjustment blocks you can turn to.
Yep.
The other thing is with the shock, you can go and stiffen it up like we did on the front and center. Then the other thing is there's a coupling block. Typically all skids have some sort of coupling system. You can adjust the coupling so that it can transfer only so far, and then your skis aren't lifting totally out of control. Some people want that. You know, it's all down to preference, what you want.
So you're saying a lot of transfer to that coupling block, a lot of travel, that'll essentially kind of almost make it a wheelie situation. I know a lot of people like to do wheelies on their sleds, like doing catwalks. So a lot of that transfer, that's what will cause, could cause that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, spring rate dictates it too. Shock valving dictates it as well. But transfer in the transfer blocks, the longer the distance, the more wheelie typically is what you're going to see. If you want a little bit more of a controlled ride, you would close that window up a little bit and not let the skis lift too far.
Okay, so to kind of recap what we've been talking about today, for setting up and ease the ski pressure, ease the steering effort, but to still get you through the corner, what are kind of the recaps here? What would you say? We kind of got 3 points of contact.
3 points of contact. The center definitely is kind of the base, and everything pivots around that. If you get the front end, or the center of the skid, or the front of the skid out too far, you're gonna probably not have any ski pressure, and you're probably gonna wheelie too much.
Okay.
So if you get it too far up, vice versa, you're gonna have probably too much ski pressure, and you're gonna just kind of be like rigid and feeling stiff.
Gotcha.
Front and back.
Okay.
Then going from there to the back, if you want less more wheelie, or the skis in the air when you accelerate, you would have that window of your coupling block a little bit bigger, vice versa if you want a little less.
Awesome.
And pitch and roll, it's all relevant to any kind of auto, motocross, all the racing, all kind of things kind of fall into place. It's all similar in some way.
Okay, and basically all the things that we've talked about today, they're in the owner's manual, how to adjust different suspensions, and definitely we want to suggest to go and consult your owner's manual, as they will show you which way to turn the clickers, which way to adjust, and how to do that. And again, document what you're doing, right?
Absolutely, document, and don't be too crazy with your changes. Always just small steps, recording what you're doing, and you know, the other thing is not to be afraid to try a few little things. You know, that's one thing that I see all the time is people get a little worried about, oh, I better not change it. Well, if you record what you've done, you can always go back, and that's what I always tell everyone.
Well, awesome. Robbie, it's been great getting to see some different ideas, different ways to set up a snowmobile, to adjust this, to help with our ski and steering pressure. As always, you definitely know what you're talking about. But if you want to go for any of our other videos, any tech solutions, tech tips, definitely go to our website, www.caproskis.com, and check out our other social media for updates as well.